Reformation in Tudor England 1547 to 1570. Opposition and Conformity. The Western Rebellion. Its causes. In Cornwall, there was a man named William Body who wanted to destroy all images in the church. He was murdered. They were also mad at the introduction of the new prayer book. In Devon, the rebels were provoked by the priests using the new prayer book. The Rebellion. Cornwall. Protesters assembled in Bodmin, and their leader was Arundel. They made a list of articles and marched to Devon. In Devon, they persuaded the priests to deliver a traditional Catholic Mass and joined forces with Cornwall on the 20th of June. Government. Somerset urged Lord Russell to find peace. Lord Russell therefore wrote a consolatory response. On the 28th of July, Lord Russell began to advance against the rebels and managed to relieve Exeter. On the 16th of August, Lord Russell advanced and defeated Devon. The aftermath. Local reaction. The gentry had lost control of Cornwall and Devon. Helier attempted to calm Devon, but he was hacked to death. Peter Carew, a known Protestant, fled to Exeter and then London. The government. Lord Russell dealt with a small resistance until 300,000 were killed. Robert Welsh, a vicar and leader of the rebellion, was hung from his own church. The government forces, however, acted illegally as they executed without trial and took and gave land without, not properly. The Ketts Rebellion. Its causes. The Ketts Rebellion was based in Norwich, which had a major textile industry. Unfortunately, this collapsed and left many cloth workers out of a job. Small farmers were also affected by the enclosure of wooded pastoral areas. From the 6th to 8th of July, people gathered for a play and feast, and in drunken anger, many broke down some enclosure fences, including Flowerdew, who was an unpopular gentry or nobleman who wanted to pull down the local abbey. The Rebellion. Norwich. Flowerdew encouraged an angry crowd to attack Robert Kett, but Kett welcomed their actions and assumed leadership. There was an absence of the clergy, the gentry and the nobility in this rebellion. On the 10th of July, the rebels reached Norwich, and on the 12th, they took hold of Mousehold Heath. There were 1,600,000 people in the crowd, and Kett produced a list of demands. The government. On the 21st of July, the York Herald was published, which pardoned all those who dispersed from the movement. It promised to reduce the price of wool and reform abuses. Many wanted to accept, but Kett rejected. Now preparing for conflict, there was no negotiated settlement that could be seen. On the 22nd of July, the movement had taken hold fully of Norwich, and the Herald fled. 30th of July, the Marquis of Northampton arrived with 1,800 men to cut off rebel supply lines. They offered a full pardon again, but only 20 responded. Kett attacked and captured Northampton's army, who had to retreat in disgrace. Troops from the garrisons were taken and mercenaries were employed. On the 23rd of August, Northumberland took 12,000 to Norwich and fought hard against the rebels. Kett abandoned his position in the Mousehold Heath, and 3,000 rebels were killed. Kett himself arrested. Aftermath. Norwich. The size and speed of the movement prevented the government from being able to do much against it. They tried to keep the peace with the movement, but the sheriff was nearly arrested for trying to disperse rebels. The gentry was completely powerless. The government. Kett was tried for treason and hung on the 23rd of November. Northumberland ensured that the rebels would be dealt with strictly but leniently. There was only 49 executions. Other riots. These were mostly the destruction of hedges in response to enclosure. They were only minor rebellions, and Somerset wrote personally to these protesters, ready to make concessions. Acceptance of change. Key theme that links the two rebellions is that they both wanted to go back to the old ways. The Western Rebellion wanted the religious settlement to go back to the one of Henry's when Edward became of age, and the Kents wanted a return to the economic relationships of 1485. It's difficult to see how far religious reforms were accepted, and the government was determined to impose Protestant doctrine and liturgy in England. There was little resistance to it in other parts.